8 o'clock, come on, come on. I think I'm getting a little ganky. All right, well, I'll start. This is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. This is our traditional Wednesday night Q&A, and this is the night I'm guaranteed to have Jill by my side on her computer, and she really kind of moderates the people that come on and say vicious things, and she kicks them off, the trolls, I guess, and it just keeps the conversation going. That really wasn't her intention when we first started this, but the way things have kind of stacked up in the group that we have now, you know, people kind of know each other, and the chat is quite important to a lot of people, evidently, because I see there's a lot of activity there. But some nights Jill's got things to do and she's not able to really stay by the computer, and even tonight I have to be really cautious of getting going and having too much fun, because if we go over, she fades, right, and then things don't go well. So I have to keep it at a reasonable time. All right, so the purpose of the Wednesday night is to field questions and then pass more information to more people, quicker, better dissemination of the information. So that was the point, you know. I get messages all the time, questions all the time, but now I just refer people to the Wednesday night. You know, come to the Wednesday night, ask the question, and then I'll give you the answer verbally where you can hear it, but other people can hear it too. All right, that was the point of the Wednesday. I think we started at 7 o'clock, but then we moved to 8 o'clock for efficiency purposes, because we're usually kind of getting done about now with stuff, you know, with dinner and dishes and all that stuff. So now is kind of like a good time to do this, and it's worked. Typically, the Wednesday night show has quite a few people that come. All right. I want to give a shout out here. The other day, the honey fairy came and left this. Look at that. Is that unbelievable? That is pure raw honey. And the man that makes this is named Josh Cross. And he lives close to us. He's got a little beekeeping operation, and he keeps some bees on us and various other people's, and in, you know, fair trade for using our land, and not really using much, but he gives us a case of this honey like this, and I'm just thrilled with this, because this is the essence of my biosphere. This honey is produced from bees that are right around here, right around this farm. So they say that there's a lot of components in there that will keep you very healthy. That's what they say. They say all kinds of stuff, but I just like the color of it. I like the way it looks, and I sure do like the way it tastes. I got away from processed sugar. I'm probably in my second year of that now, where if I put a teaspoon of sugar in a cup of coffee, I can really taste it. And it doesn't taste good to me. It's not just sweet. Where this is just I put about a half a teaspoon in a cup of coffee with a little bit of cream, and that's the way I like it. No more sugar though. Processed sugar is really not good for us, according to our naturopathic lady. And I think she's right. I think she's right. All right. Today was a processing day for us. We did our own birds. We thought we were going to have about 100 of them, and then when we got them pulled out, we only had 50 of them. So it was actually really a nice day for us. We had about 1.5 inches of rain, starting, I guess, about 4 o'clock in the morning. Was that it? 4? During the time when you're sleeping really hard, and I'm thinking, oh, the Jeep's sitting out. My 22's sitting right there. Nobody said anything to me about rain, and we haven't had any rain all summer, so I had some stuff sitting out that got rained on. No big deal. I could have jumped up, run out, put the Jeep in the barn, but I thought, it'll be all right this one time. It got soaked. It got soaked. So that was a good thing. It's nice getting rain when you've had a really droughty summer. I don't know how much effect it will have. Definitely some, but I don't know if we're going to actually be able to cut any more hay. But if we don't, that's okay. I'm reading a book right now called, what's the actual title of that book? Say Goodbye to the Hay Habit.
I don't know. Let me go get it for you.
Oh, that's,
and then you can show it.
okay. Well,
I don't actually remember.
This book is about management of the grass that grows on your property. So instead of having heavy equipment to cut all this hay and then store this hay just so you can feed this hay, why not just section off your property so you can just bring your cows out and let them eat? And there's a lot of benefits to that because they waste a whole lot less. The hay is green when they eat it. Instead of it being dried, it loses a lot of the nutrients and things like that. Now, there's obviously going to be places on this planet where you can't do that. And I am one of the places where the guy in the book doesn't come right out and say it, but he says, well, you know, you can really stretch your grazing season. But I am going to stretch my grazing season to the point where those cows are pawing down through the snow. And, you know, usually on towards January, February, it's where we've gotten, you know, a whole bunch of 10 inches of snow. And so the snow is pretty deep. But we'll see, because I want to see on this. I had friends out in Montana that used to take their cattle into the mountains and let them go in the wintertime on winter pasture, they called it. And I asked a friend of mine one time, well, what do they do when there's snow on the ground? And he says, they paw right down through it, and they get the, you know, they got to work a little harder at it, but, you know, that's what they do. Here's the book, by the way. I got turned on to this by Keegan DeZoo, and I'm really impressed with this so far. It's a whole lot more understanding about the nutritional needs of cattle, but it would carry over to sheep and goats and anything else that does grazing. And I've actually noticed some of the things that are outlined in this book already since I read it. You know, when you read it and you are posed with a concept you never thought of, and you've always wondered, gee, I wonder why the cows eat that stuff over there. But, you know, grazing cows on a monoculture is not even close to nature. And so I'm finding, reading this book, that not only can you utilize with intensive fencing systems, can you utilize grasses and other forages that are in wooded areas or wet areas, but it's actually beneficial to the cattle because they require a very diverse intake. You know, they're not going to do well on just a monoculture. So when you're feeding them a monoculture, you know, hay, 365 days a year, you kind of wonder why they have problems, and that's why. So grazing, there's a lot of perks to it, and there's also perks to your property, you know, to your grazing ground. The ground was made for the cows, and the cows were made for the ground. So it's a consensual relationship is what it is. But anyway, I'm reading that right now, and it's really good. And I appreciate Keegan bringing it to my attention. When he first told me, he says, oh, this guy is out in North Dakota and doesn't cut any more hay. I thought, it couldn't be. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yeah, you know, there's a ton of waste when we cut the hay, rake it, bale it, move it into, you know, a cover situation, a barn or something. There's a ton of waste there. Time, our time, equipment, fuel, maintenance, all that stuff is, if it was doable and you didn't have to do that, that would be pretty nice, because that's a lot of resources that come right off the bottom, right off your bottom line, right there. And so if we can kick it, we would like to kick the hay habit.
I'm gonna post a link in just a second.
Okay, Jill's gonna post a link. I don't know the guy that wrote it, Jim Garrish. I've heard the name. You know, I think he's pretty big in cattle circles, but I don't believe I've ever met him. Yeah, we got something coming up here shortly. We've got a guy in our orbit that is a pretty good cheese maker. He's one of these guys that just does a lot of things, and he does a lot of things really well. He's one of those guys, collects college degrees and things like that, but he's also an Air Force type, was an enlisted man, was an officer. He's a pretty well-rounded guy. And he makes cheese really well. And I asked him, hey, would you do a cheese making class here at Baker's? And he says, yeah, love to. So that's coming up.
Yeah, once we have the new burners, we'll get it scheduled. And
Yeah, it's probably going to be in October, because we're changing out some equipment in the butcher shop to accommodate, you know, a lot of different things that we're needing to do right now. So that is coming. There's another thing that I would like to figure out a way to do a little polling. Am I swirling?
I'm s- yeah, I got you still
Am I swirling?
there. Usually it doesn't. Oh, you're back.
All right, we got a cheese maker there. I was just talking with that cheese maker today. You know, the last couple nights I've talked a little bit about some things and our role in governing this country, and my senator, state senator, not federal senator, was here, and I had a nice conversation with him, and he says, if you'd like to get together with a group of your compatriots, I would be more than happy to come up to the farm. This would probably be a Saturday, because, you know, people like us are working, and he's working too. He's down at the state capitol, but I would like to do that, and I kind of need to know if I could get a show of hands here who would be interested in that and who could come and would come. Let's say we scheduled it for, I don't know, what's a good time on a Saturday, like 10 o'clock, so people could be out of here and then get lunch on the way home. I want to do that, and I think it's important that we do that. A lot of times, I think there's clues given to us on how to proceed. And this is going to sound a little funny, but in movies, right? And I don't really watch a whole lot of movies. I really don't. I watch documentaries, but I have seen movies in my time. You know, I have seen probably 50 movies, and some of them I don't even remember them because they weren't good. But one movie that I saw that there was a little bit of a line given. Believe it or not, it's in the movie Chicken Run. All right, it's a kids thing, and the chickens are in this chicken farm, but it's more configured like a prison camp. And the music is very much like the music in The Great Escape. You know that movie, I've seen that movie too. And The Great Escape is where American and British GIs, there was a couple Dutch in there too. They break out of this maximum security Luftwaffe, that's Air Force, German Air Force camp. And like half the camp gets away, right? And the Gestapo have had enough with them, and they finally machine gun a whole bunch of them. They execute them. It was a true story too. But in this cartoon, it's a cartoon, The Chicken Run. The man who's the farmer, he occasionally lifts up a chicken coop to look in or put feed in, and he'll see the chickens will be looking at, microfish, or they'll be drawing things on boards, because they're trying to escape from this place. And then he'll close it and he'll open it back up again, and then they'll just be, pecking the ground and being chickens. And he thinks he's losing it, but he goes into his wife and he says, they're organized. And she discounts it. But that's the biggest problem in a scenario like that, where let's say it's a prison camp, or let's say you are trying to coerce a large number of people that they are under control, is keep them from organizing. All right, so what I spoke about last night, I feel very passionate about that, and it's not going to go away. What is our role? We take it as it comes. We take it as it comes. And I feel as though it would be a very good thing to speak with this guy, this senator. Maybe if there's 20 of us here and we can speak to him, and get his feeling on things, what's going on in Lansing. I think everybody's knowledge of what is going on would become greater. And then he would understand where we're coming from. I mean, he's a new senator, right? So he was part of our community until he just got elected a year ago. But I think he could go back to Lansing and he could say, I've met with a bunch of guys and this is what they think. And that message informally gets to leadership. And see, leadership is only going to do what they think they can get away with, right? They're only going to push it as far as they can get away with it. If they go too fast, too far, and there's some big thing that happens, like 15,000 people descending on the city of Lansing, fully armed, that's a huge thing. Huge, right? And that happened. Hasn't happened lately. It went off without a hitch. There was nothing happened, and the people picked up behind them. But you had 15, 20 heavily armed men in the gallery, and then all the senators were down on the floor. So it's like a mezzanine that wraps around, and you're one story up, looking down on these guys, and these guys were all packing, AR-15s, AK-47s, full ammo, locked and loaded. They were up there in the gallery. They did it. They couldn't keep them out. And it showed that, look, we can get this group of people together anytime we want. And these people are obviously not afraid of showing up here heavily armed. So that was a big deal. That sent a pretty clear message. But I don't know if it really got through, because maybe the governor thought, oh yeah, but they won't do anything. Well, they could have decided to stay there for a couple of weeks if they wanted to, because they had the firepower to do it. Nobody could tell them you have to leave. There's nobody bigger than that group of people to say you've got to leave, because they could say, well, we're not leaving, and there's nothing you can do. So I don't know what's going on, but if we do not meet with him, we can't say that. If we don't meet with him, we can't say that we tried, right? And like I said, there's no reason to go to the musket at this point. We still have a lot of negotiating room. There's a lot of room for, all kinds of things. But we have to make ourselves heard. And here's this guy dropping right in my lap, saying, "Hey, I'll come and meet with you guys." Now, I would coordinate most of this. And I would think that I will call the sheriff, and he can't refuse. How could he? I will call a couple of the judges, and let them come and hear the concerns. I'm sure they know, but when you have a formal meeting and they get to see flesh and blood sitting in front of you, I'm not sure whether we should tell men to show up armed or not. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to have to consult with some of my staff on that. I don't know what the point of that would be. It does send a message, though. But we'll see. Thank you. We'll see about that. But if I could get just some input on that from the people that are close enough to travel for that, or if you know, I would think if you're not from Michigan, and it might not be your thing, other than it's good real live training for if you go back to your state. I heard from a friend of mine today that is in Indiana, and the governor just mandated a mask, whatever, fatwa, rule, order, whatever, and extended it, you know, way out. And some places they're downright Nazi-ish. I'm here in Michigan, and the same thing is here, but I pretty much tempt people to say a word to me, and so far nobody has said a thing to me, and I walk right past any signs or anything like that. I'm not playing the game. I'm just not going to do it. I know the stores aren't going to say anything, but it's usually the people in the stores that are going to say something. But see, they take a risk when they do that. You know, if I walk up to some lady and I say, you know what, I think you ought to lose about 10 pounds there, sweetie. I'm taking a risk by doing that. And if I say, you know, you really should lose about 10 pounds because you're a tear on society because of, you know, your lack of ability to not, you know, keep from gaining weight. And it's a terrible thing to say, and I would never do that. And I probably should have picked something else, because that's a touchy situation. I'm sorry. But if I did that, I'm taking a risk doing that I could get a purse across my face. So I don't do that. And I really think that if somebody decides that they want to tell me how I should present myself, they're taking a risk. So you can go for it if you want, but don't think it's going to go easy. You know, I'm not going to, you know, oh, let me get my mask on, put it on. I'm not going to do that. I am resisting this, and I'm doing it for a reason, right? All right. One of these days we're going to get back to talking about farming. I started thinking about it today, and immediately my mind kind of started going, you know, into other subjects. But I believe we, you know, when we look back, okay, when I walked to elementary school as a child, I walked past a monument. I'm from New England, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, and on this monument it said, near this spot, Nathan Howe left his plow in the furrow to respond to the Lexington alarm of April 18th, 1774. Yeah, 1774. So that would have been a couple of days or a day after the confrontation at the Concord Bridge. So it was game on. And the man that lived next door to my parents, his in-laws were Howes, Howe. His name was Holland, but his wife's maiden name was Howe, and they were super old when I was a little kid. And they got older and older and older. You know, I don't know. They might still be there. Who knows? But I played in the woods behind there, and I would think about that, you know, Nathan Howe leaving his plow, and then we would hear about the battles that went on. There were none around where I lived, but we would find stuff in the woods, you know, and it was there was stone walls everywhere that were really old. In New England, a lot of the buildings are, you know, built in the 1700s. You know, my parents' house, it wasn't that old, but it was built in 18 something, you know, like 1880 or something like that. It was pretty old. So playing in the woods, you know, there's all this mystery that goes on, that maybe I'm going to find a bayonet, maybe I'm going to find a musket ball, maybe I'm going to find a three-cornered hat or something like that. Never did find anything like that, but found a lot of other stuff. The point of that story was Nathan Howe left his plow. So he was a farmer, but most of the people of that time were farmers. But he left his plow in the furrow, right? So he's going along, he gets a call right? Maybe from the house, or one of the kids was sent out, and hey, you know, time to go. And he left his plow, took whatever he had, probably for a weapon, and into the Boston area he went, probably on his horse or on foot. I used to drive that distance. I went to school in Lexington, and I lived in Shrewsbury, so I used to drive that all the time. And I lived right near the Concord Bridge when I was in school. No joke, I used to walk over to the Concord Bridge on my days off from school, and there was always people coming and going, and there was actually a bridge that goes across the Concord River, and that's where it all went down. And I was just back there a few years ago, and went to the same place because it's it's near and dear, because we would not have the way, the form of life that we do here in the United States if it were not for that confrontation at the bridge. So it was painful for sure, but it changed the course of history. If the United States wasn't the land of the free and the home of the brave, then there would be no place for people to come to. Nobody goes to Lithuania. You know, nobody has to get across the border to Lithuania, or let's go to Russia, let's break into Russia. People don't do that because their governments are so oppressive. And if you're not in the party, you're kind of in trouble, you know. So the United States is a free nation, and we need to keep it that way. So we're farmers first, but then we're patriots. Or actually, we're patriots first, and then our career field is farming. All right. And that's what I'm here for, is to talk about farming. And let's get on with the Q&A. I'm getting the look.
The monetization is shut off.
Okay, yes.
We need thumbs up.
Yeah. Can we have some thumbs up? There's like a lot of people watching. Just smash that thumbs up if you would. And the monetization, the commercials, it's shut off for now because they're overloading us with commercials. I'm not sure of the rhyme or reason for that, but I know I tried to watch one of these things, and too many commercials, and they were you couldn't shut off. So I think we lose a lot of people. However, it seems as though half of our audience is viewing after the fact. So that's good. We're up around a pretty steady 250, 260 a night, which is, I mean, that's a lot of people. I see some of these channels that have huge gatherings, but they're short videos. Ours are usually about an hour. It's conversation, and we have a pretty steady group of people that come back night after night after night. So I'm told that's a good trajectory and that we should stay with it. I know good has come from it for sure. Our class is full. Our hog harvest class is full, and you know, if we wanted to fill another one, I think we could. You know, it's a good way to get the word out there. All right, well, I'm ready for questions. Jill's here. She can answer questions too. She's pretty good at a lot of things. Plant things and holistic medical things. She's good at chicken processing, good at sausage making. She can stitch wounds, gives good back rubs.
I don't know about stitch wounds, but I'm pretty mean with the butterfly.
Yeah, butterfly. Stitcher of wounds. So I'm ready. I'm ready when you are.
First Church wondered, would mangus eat walnuts, and what other tree nuts native to Michigan could we source to feed them?
Haha. Good question. These people, First Church of Mother Earth, purchased a breeding pair of Mangalitsas from me. And they got a really good deal. Really good deal. Because I had to give him a pig that I wanted to keep, because another one that I really wanted to move, he wound up getting a big knot on his head. And so we wound up castrating him because he was flawed. They got a really good deal, and I think I'm going to see these people more in the future. So here you are in Michigan, where there's lots and lots of oak trees, and that's probably one of the best nuts that you can, the most plentiful nut there is. Let's see, is an acorn a nut? Yeah, acorn's a nut. They don't call them acorn nuts, though. Like walnuts.
Oh, no.
Well, walnuts don't come from a wall tree. They come from a walnut tree. So, the acorns come from an acorn tree? No, they come from an oak tree. Why don't they call them oak nuts? No, serious question. Can you Google it? But there's lots and lots of acorns, and during that about 2-month period there, where the acorns start hitting the ground, you can become an expert on acorn picking. And so you need to know where the best trees are, the easiest methods of picking them up, probably, they make this thing called a bag-a-nut, and it's like a golf ball picker-upper, only it's much smaller. They have ones that you can pull behind an ATV. They have ones that you can push, just like a little fertilizer spreader, And we have 3 of them. We use them a lot because it's just fun to go out in the fall and come home with a pickup truck load of acorns. Nobody else wants them, and they're everywhere, so it's fun. It's real good scrounge. They say that equal weights of acorn, no, what is it? There's twice the caloric value in acorns than there is in corn. In the best feed corn there is. Twice, all right? And one of the things about acorns is they have nutrients in them that corn won't have, because the roots on an acorn tree or an oak tree go really, really deep, so they bring up nutrients from deep down in the soil that just don't exist on the top 4 or 5 inches of soil, if you can even call it that feed corn is grown in. It's really not even soil anymore. There's very little in it, but they use fertilizer to make it grow. So acorns are really good. There's a lot to know about feeding acorns, though. You can just, if you had a lawn guy around you that did lawns and he picked up leaves and stuff like that, you could say, hey, if you want to come to piles of leaves and acorns and sticks and stuff like that, and then turn your pigs in there. And they will sort that all out. They will eat every acorn. They will spread it all out, step it all in, and you'll go from non-fertile ground to very fertile ground. Matter of fact, we had a guy for a long time. Remember Hunter? You remember him? He called me one time, and he said he heard that these pigs would eat acorns. And I said, yeah. He says, well, I run a lawn care business. He was downstate, so it's like a totally different country down there. And him and his mom came here and they bought pigs. And he had this place where he'd been dumping for a couple of years, and he fenced it in, and then he put the pigs in there. And they're they were good to go for a while. Oh, look at that! First Church, $10. Thanks. He brought me some nice goodies the other day. Long gone though.
Very good. Says cheaper than a college education, more entertaining than Netflix.
What's that?
That was the comment with that.
This show? Really? Better than Netflix? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Other nuts that are good. I don't know a nut that they won't eat. And if you've ever watched like a toucan eat a Brazil nut, they crack it and then they scoop it out with their tongue. Pigs have a way, if there's not too much pressure on them. What I mean by that is, like, if they've got way more acorns than they can eat and they've already got full bellies, then they'll just take their mouth and they'll crack it, and you'll just see the shells, and they eat the meat. Hey, she's digging my retaining wall out. And yeah, so the acorn seems to be made for the pig. And then if you look into it and research, you'll discover a term called masting. And before there was a whole lot of people around, if you had pigs, and let's say you had a piece of property like mine, and there was hundreds of acres behind you that nobody lived on, you could just turn your pigs out. You wouldn't want them to come back and get in the flower garden. You'd want them to go out. And if you have your fields cleared, let's say you're on the edge of a woodlot or something, and you can fence it out like this, like a baseball field, so they'll go out and they can't get back around to the house. They'll go out and they'll find stuff to eat. It's called masting. And it works really good if you're in, an oak forest. But, there's other stuff out there too. Pigs can eat a lot of things, a whole lot of things that they can find. And so long as they have plenty of room, they won't hurt anything. You'd think they'll dig big holes and stuff. No, they're just kind of going along and looking for stuff to eat. And it's too much effort for them to dig a hole. If you have them on a small piece of land and they've exhausted everything to eat, then they start saying, well, we can't go up, so let's go down. And they'll start digging, thinking they're going to get down to chop suey or something. So that's masting. I don't think that you're going to be able to do that, because the problem is that if they get to the end of where they want to go and there's a golf course, then they're going to keep going. Or, if they get to your neighbor's property or something like that. So there's very few scenarios nowadays where you can actually mast your pigs. If you own the property and you can fence it off, then you could do it. And then you would be assured that they would come back. And the reason they come back, they like to sleep in their own beds. So they will, if pigs get out, and it happens occasionally, let's say they get out, a gate's left open, and 2 or 3 of them get out, and then they're on the wrong side of the fence, all they'd have to do is come back in the way they got out, but they don't know that. And they will dig through the fence to get back in with their buds so they can sleep on their beds. It's very important for them when the sun starts going down that they can be someplace where they feel, secure. So if you have pigs from a young age, like all the pigs that I have here, mostly are born here. So it's really all they know, and they're very secure. When it starts getting dark like this, they're heading for their beds. They're not up at night. And when you go out looking around for things at night and you walk in their pen, you can step around them and they're snoozing. They won't wake up. They're very secure here. How's that?
All right. Lone Star wanted to know, do you have natural springs that do not dry up and keep your ponds in water?
Yeah, I do. This town is known for flowing wells. Artesian wells, they call them. And there are people that can actually find them. And once you get into them, they're pressurized and water just bubbles up. I don't have one on this property yet. I would like to. I just haven't got around to it yet. You have to have somebody that can find it. And I happen to be sitting next to somebody that can find it. She's an expert water finder. She can tell you how deep it is and all that stuff. I have 3 ponds on this place now. and they all have maintained water all summer long. I have two springs that go right across this knob that we're sitting on. They built the house on one of the higher spots on the farm, and there's two springs that go through here. This one goes directly under the house, and that was where the house well was. And when we got here, we still used it. It was an 1.25 inch well, and then it was only down 20 feet. And the water was good and everything, but it's got glyphosate in it from all the farming that goes on around here. So we put in a deeper well, and it's better. And it's 60 feet, I think. But the property next door to me has got water on it that Jill found. Did they put a well on that? Did they ever dig that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
They got water somewhere because they don't run a hose.
Oh
to
yeah,
my
that's
place
right.
anymore.
They must have.
They dug a well. Yeah, remember they tried by the door where I told them it was dry and what they wanted, and it was dry. So they had to re-drill, and I think they did do it where I had told them
Huh.
water flow down.
Yeah, so there is a well over there. And I'll be talking to you about that tonight. I understand that it's up for sale again, so they took the signs down, and I saw a truck in there the other day. But from what your message to me was that it's back on the market. So, all right.
All right.
Yeah, but I am going to work on that. I am going to work on that because, like, this year, I really got caught. You don't know that a drought's going to last as long as it has. And it never felt like we were in a drought. It still doesn't feel like that. But we just didn't get the rainfall. And you go a week and you say, oh, well, it'll rain. And then you go another week, whoa. And then another one. And then another one. And then your hay production is just shot. Whereas if after week 1, I had the pump running and I was laying irrigation pipe out already, but I just didn't think that it was going to go this long. And the irrigation lines that I have are kind of cumbersome, and I had other things going on. I had these building projects going on, and I just didn't do it. And I'm paying. Yeah, considering a sprinkler system. It's so easy to do too, and it's fun to do. It's really fun to do. When you have a pond and you can take a tractor down there and just fire up a PTO pump, which is a pretty good size. Mine's pretty good size, and it'll force water and it'll make it rain. You just have to have the system laid out. You could do that twice a week and completely drench everything with pond water, which is good water for growing stuff in. But I just didn't. Typically, in Michigan, we get rain once or twice a week. Wouldn't you say that? It's about like that?
Usually.
Yeah.
Usually.
And,
On average.
it's enough. It's enough. There's usually puddles in the driveway. Usually. Yeah, it's usually, there's more stuff growing than you want. You're usually mowing just your yard once a week, at least once a week. And if you don't, you get behind. But I haven't had the mower going in a month. All right, so I'm ready for the next question. Peter.
All right. This is from SW Tile Setter. Wife wants to get 2 milk cows. How do they act when the snow gets deep, like 4 feet deep? Will they just get bored and step over the fence? 5-foot fence or whatever?
No. No, they don't put out any effort if they don't have to. So long as a milk cow, when it's cold, so long as she has someplace to lay down, like a daily ritual of a little bit of grain when you milk her, and then a hay bale to stand in front of and eat, she's not going to jump over anything, because there's nothing for, they're motivated by their stomachs. That's what motivates them. And then maybe a scratch behind the ears. but they could probably live without that. So, no, I don't think so. Where does Tile Setter live? Where he's getting that kind of snow?
I'm not sure.
I mean, because I'm here, and we get about 2 feet, which puts my fences down kind of low, but they still stay within them because they'd have to go over them, and they don't see anything on the other side, and they don't do it.
And dairy cows, frankly, aren't
yeah.
too interested. They like the comforts of home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beef cows are a little squirrelier, but
Yeah, beef cows can be a little adventurous, but dairy cows generally. Although the other day, these guys left here, and I get a phone call like within 30 seconds after they go out the driveway, and I almost don't want to answer that phone call, you know, because it's like, we forgot something and you need to do something. But I answered it, and they said, there's a Holstein on the wrong side of the fence just eating. And I went out there, and sure enough, she had jumped over the fence. And that section of fence, it's an old section of fence that field used to be pigs, and we never did anything with the top rung because we just didn't have cows in there. And there was a strand of barbed on the top, but what cows will do is they'll put their head in between the barbed and the woven wire, and then they'll squish down the woven wire. So the barbed has to be about this far off the top, so they can't. When they go to it, they will hit it in their nose, and it's just like a shock to them. So, yeah, she was on the wrong side of the fence. So how do you get her over the fence again without walking her through, you know, the swamp? What I did was I just made all the other cows go up to the barn, and I made it seem like they were going to get treats, and then she thought she was missing out on something. She jumped right over that fence again, just like a deer jumping over the fence, and this is a 1,000-pound animal. Yeah, so they can do it. They can do it, but if you've got the fences configured in such a way that they get discouraged, they just don't. I had a cow here for a while. Was partly Longhorn, was that?
yeah,
Yeah, Lucy.
half longhorn.
What was her name? Lucy?
Yeah.
Oh.
She had lots of explaining to do.
Yeah.
She jumped the fence.
And for no reason, she would just jump fences. Just because she could. She'd jump a fence, and there'd be nothing on the other side of the fence, but she just wanted to be there. And she terrorized me one winter, you know. I mean, really terrorized me, because she would just wind up in the maintenance shop. She would wound up in the office one time. She taught everybody else. Everybody wanted to follow her, too. So when spring came and it was time for some meat to be had, I was the one that shot her. Lucy. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question. You'd mentioned that it rains, once or twice a week. Paul wanted to know, how is winter? Like, how often does it snow?
About the same. About the same. We'll usually get 1 or 2 big storms where, it kind of locks things up. Or more. And then you just get little snowfalls, like 3, 4, 5 inches, that just you wake up in the morning, oh, we got some more snow, And when you live in snow country, you just deal with it in a different way. So when we plow, we actually plow a lot of the backyard. So everything's pushed back, and we have open space. Our maintenance area, we push that way back too, way back, and so you actually have this nice surface that you can navigate really easily, and plowing becomes very easy and actually kind of fun. If you listen to Creedence Clearwater Revival and you have a '74 Ford pickup, you look forward to snow, and I do. I love plowing. I love plowing. It's a lot of snow. I think we get 170 inches or something like that. I think that kind of sticks in my mind. Not that it all stays all the time, but there's a lot of snow. It's a lot of snow. It's not bad though, because then you can go places where you can't go in the summertime with snow machines. You can go all over the place, and then the lakes freeze up really thick, so you can go out on the lakes on snow machines. Ice fishing's good. I keep saying I'm going to get into it. I haven't. It's the change of seasons is nice. I don't know if I'd want to live someplace where it was like hot and real hot. You know, here we'll have 2 or 3 weeks where it's really cold. I mean, when you're getting in bed at night, it's like, oh, this is cold. But it's not bad. You get used to it. You know, you start to enjoy the simple pleasures of a wood stove. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I used to be kind of panicky, to be honest with you. I used to panic a little bit because it would get so cold that, you know, stuff wouldn't start. But as time has gone by, I know which equipment needs to be plugged in and which equipment is, you know, we'll just leave that today. We won't start that up today, you know, and try to make sure the cows are fed so that if I don't have to start the tractor up, I won't. I'll just leave it. So I'm not hurting the tractor by cranking it when it's cold. So you get used to it. You kind of work around it.
Alright. Honey Cafena wanted to know, would pigs eat mice and moles?
If they could catch them, they would. Yeah. They'd eat dead deer. They're meat eaters. They're omnivores. So yeah, they would. So a few things that they won't. When we process rabbits, they're not interested in any of the entrails from a rabbit at all, or the hide. You know, usually the head and the hide are together, and we'll put them out there, and they'll be out there until they just rot away. They're not interested in them at all. And there's been occasion where a cat got thrown in with them that was dead, and they didn't want anything to do with the cat either. So, you know, I don't know. I just assume they would eat a mouse, but I have never tried to feed a mouse to them, or a mole. You know, I don't see many moles.
Alrighty. Joshua wondered if you figured out your bunnies.
You know what, we took. What did we do? We put Alice in with Peter, or Heather in with Peter, and she let him.
Yep.
Yeah, she let him.
He got it done. Right?
He got her done. So I guess we figured that part of it out. But the girl that I got him from called and said she lost her buck, so she wanted to know if she could buy him back. And I said, yeah, but when she got here, I said, well, why don't you just borrow him? And then when you bring rabbits to us to be processed, just bring them back. So we've got that figured out. It didn't work out the way we wanted it to, but we're not done. I still want to raise more. I want to raise rabbits. I think it would be a really good thing to do. We just had a full schedule. We processed chickens again today, and we're on for Friday, another big day on Friday. So we've been pretty busy with that.
Haven wanted to know if you're going to do a cow processing class.
That's a deep subject. That is a subject that gets talked about around here a lot. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. It would probably be helpful. I bet you we could find somebody in the neighborhood that's better at it than us. I bet we could. And then just kind of do it here. Maybe we should talk about that, Haven. Maybe we should. Because I think that would be a very beneficial thing for all of us, really. But let me give that some thought, and we should connect on that. That would be a wintertime thing for sure.
Alright, Lone Star. Do pigs break the no-till rule that farmers and ranchers...
Stuff. Okay. Should be okay now then, huh? When it says I'm live, I'm fairly sure that it's... You know, I have that booster thing sitting right there, but it's going to require that I read the instructions, and I just haven't done it. I haven't done it. I need an assistant to do that. No, pigs will, I mean, they're tillers, they're diggers, and they'll do a very efficient job. You just have to keep them contained to a small area, you know, I'm talking like 100 by 100, and once they've got that all tilled, then you let them into another 100 by 100, let them till that, and then you can go back and you can plant the first 100. But they're good tillers. They're really good tillers. And I've said this a million times, it gives them something to do. It lets them, as Joel Salatin says, lets them exercise their piggedness, lets them be pigs, because pigs, they're designed to do that. They're designed to dig, to root, and all that stuff. And we hear stories of these. I heard of this Iowa pastured pig, and this guy that I get rough cut lumber from, I was down at his place, and he says to me, "You're the guy with the Mangalitsa pigs?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, I've got Ohio or Idaho, Iowa? I don't know. Something pastured pigs, pasture pigs. Maybe Idaho pasture pigs or something. I don't know."
Yeah.
Idaho? Yeah. And oh man, I got to see those things. So I went over and looked at it. I looked at the pasture they were in. It was all dug up. And I said, "I thought these things don't dig. I thought they just graze." And he says, "No, that's what I thought too." They dig. And I'm on this other group, you know, a Mangalitsa group on Facebook. I never post anything on there because the people there are just too smart for me. But people think they're expecting pigs to just go out there and eat grass, you know, and keep moving on. Like you can share the field with your pigs and your cows. You can't. Pigs dig. And, you know, people, when they see that to a nice pasture, they say, "Oh no, what have they done?" That's what they do. That's what they do. And you can use it to your advantage. It's just not going to be the way you thought, you know. They'll definitely take everything off that field. They'll turn it all into pork, so it's not a waste. And then when you move them off to the next section, you can go in and replant it with something that'll grow a lot faster, and you'll have a lot more forage there, a lot more food, a lot more caloric intake. If you plant something like a turnip or zucchini, I don't know, I haven't really done zucchini. We grow them here, but I keep threatening to grow, you know, a 1 acre field of zucchini because they grow so fast. And but maybe there'd be too much zucchini out there for the pigs to eat. Who knows? I haven't done it. I'm threatening to do it, but how's that? Did I answer that question?
Yep.
Got a pretty good crowd here. 2,700 people.
That's all the questions I have right now.
It's all the questions that we have, and we're
So
at.
you just wondered because tilling is bad now, quote unquote. So.
Yeah, didn't you know that? Didn't you know? I think tilling. I think it adds to global warming. If I'm reading it right, it probably does. Probably global warming. Of course, you know, if you're Oh, never think about some of that stuff. Some of that stuff is just stupid, isn't it? And there's more stupidity happening every day. You see it every single day. All right, well, we're at 61 minutes, and I could do Jill a real favor here. If we're out of questions, then let me just remind you all, get your colors out, fly your colors on your vehicle, on your jackets, you know. Wear your colors, all right? Be proud of that flag and what it stands for, and be prepared to defend it in any way that you're called to. It's very important that we do this now. It's very important. Be ready. Keep your powder dry. Make sure you're well stocked up on food and water so you're able to stay fluid.
Joshua wants to know if you have a fish pond update.
No, I really don't. I really don't. That's one of those things I want to do. Maybe when I retire, I'll do that. Right? I got to get it done because I want to be out there fishing in my pond with my grandson, but he's pretty small yet. But maybe by the time he's about 4, we could fish together in the pond. But I got an area that if I had a dozer, I would push it back and make about a 4 or 5 acre pond, and then load that baby up with fish. You know, just load it and feed them and all that stuff. Catch and release, unless we wanted to eat them. I would think that would be cool. Have a little dock, my little rowboat out there. Oh, it'd be great. It'd be great. Okay, I'm gonna call it good for now. I don't have a topic for tomorrow night. I really don't. I feel like I exhausted everything I had to the last couple days. So I'm gonna hang loose, see what happens. Maybe tempt the universe here. If I don't have a topic, we'll just not have the show. So yeah, I've been saying that. We'll just not have the show. We'll see what happens.
You always come up with something to talk about.
Anyone can farm. Good night now.